Hello and welcome to Beyond the Bio. Stay tuned to discover lots of useful information all about personal branding photo shoots. So I am joined this week by Andrew Collier, who is a portrait photographer with very strong views on those slightly/very controversial personal branding shoots. You know the ones I mean, the ones of the coach looking artfully at her cup of coffee or her glass of champagne, etc. So Andrew is telling me all about why he doesn't like those types of shoots, but providing us with some great insight around how to get the most from any photo shoots that we do have to show us and our businesses in the best light, literally, because he gives us some great tips as well about lighting and about clothing. So let's get stuck in. Andrew, welcome to Beyond the Bio. It is awesome to have you on the show today, talking all things personal brand photography. Let's start off with defining what the heck we mean when we say personal brand photography. What is it?
This is a good question. I've been a portrait photographer for some 15 years. My background is marketing. Back in the day, when we were doing a shoot, it was commercial photography. You know, it was for a brochure, for a website, for an ad campaign, whatever. People would niche it, but essentially it was brand photography. Brand photography was commercial photography, and that was it. I think the word brand photography has crept in since COVID. And then there's an interesting subgenre called personal brand photography, which is an interesting one. I've done a few, and I can't quite put my finger on what it's supposed to be about.
As in you've done a few shoots, a few personal branding shoots?
Yeah, I have. But quite often they're for people who are life coaches and therapists. And it's all of that sort of fairly nebulous lifestyle business that's, positivity coaches. Basically, somebody sort of helps you think in the right way, which is great. It's like quasi-psychology. But when you see the photographs from personal brand shoots, they all look the same. And they don't really tell me anything about that person or what they do. And that's the difficulty, because how often have you talked to people about work-life balance? And as a life coach, work-life balance is an important thing to help people get sorted out. It's very easy when you work on your own or you're on the career ladder to work far more hours than you're supposed to, or far more days than you're supposed to. So that classic personal brand photograph of 30-something woman with a cup of coffee in her pajamas, sat on her lounge floor with her laptop, what does it say? To me, it says overwork, because on a Sunday morning, you should be kicking back. You shouldn't be sat on your lounge floor with your laptop working.
So let's rewind a little bit then. You're saying these coaches get in touch with you to book you to do one of these shoots with them. So do you advertise that you do personal branding photo shoots?
No, I don't. It's one of those things. I do loads and loads of headshots, what is now called brand photography, commercial photography. So that might be going to a company, photographing their staff, photographing their teams, photographing their processes, showing how they work. I was doing some work with a holiday rentals company over in Anglesey recently, and they offer a full cleaning and maintenance service to all of the homeowners who use their services to rent out their houses. So showing guys fixing boilers, cleaning patios, making beds, cleaning windows, cleaning out cupboards, repainting the hall stairs and landing, etc., is telling the story of what that brand is all about.
So when these coaches are getting in touch with you for a personal branding shoot, like, what are they asking for? Is that what they're calling it? Is that what they're asking for?
Yeah, they're wanting photographs for their website. And I try and avoid the classic personal brand shoot. And I have an example here, which arrived in my inbox one day from an American trainer. I think I counted 72 different wine shots.
Wow.
So what I find, I don't like doing personal brand shoots in the way that personal branding shoots are portrayed, because I don't think they deliver anything. So I'm just going to read out some of these. Drinking coffee or tea and smiling at the camera, vertical format. Drinking tea or coffee, smiling in a camera, horizontal format. Drinking tea or coffee close up, on cup, no face. Drinking tea or coffee, looking thoughtfully to the side, horizontal, or drinking tea and coffee, looking thoughtful to the side, vertical. Drinking wine, champagne or cocktail, looking at the camera, vertical, close up on drink. Drinking wine, champagne or cocktail, looking at the camera, vertical. Cheers to the camera with glass, horizontal. And on it goes. What on earth do they say about your business?
That you're an alcoholic?
Yeah, you're sat and shaking your head here because I can see you shaking your head. Right, okay. So you think that lot's weird. How about this? Sitting midsection, looking at camera, vertical. Sitting midsection, looking away from camera, horizontal. Walking towards camera, walking away from camera. Standing midsection, not vertical. What's it all about? It doesn't. And I have several of these from several personal photography brand photography trainers.
And have you ever used them? Have you ever gone through this list and done it with someone and been muttering?
No, I've gone through the list and gone WTF.
Yeah.
And I've shared this with other photographer friends who've also gone, really? And words probably a little more graphic than that. And you just wonder what this is all about, because some of these guys are producing really, really good shots, but there are trainers out there. And I don't think it's the personal brand photographers that I have a concern about. It's the personal brand photography trainers out there who are selling a fantasy. They're selling nonsense because there's no substance to it. And they are telling people, come on our wonderful training course, come to my fantastic villa in Spain and we'll do a week's training and we'll create some wonderful images together. And I'll show you how to do these because you're really struggling with your photography business, and selling these kinds of packages at prices that, yeah, they're reasonable for the amount of time, but what substance are their clients getting for their money?
It sounds like it's rife in your industry then.
I think it's like a lot of things, isn't it? You see a car in a particular colour and you think, I really like that car, but nobody has the burnt orange one. You go and order the burnt orange one, then you drive down the road and you see 4 before you get home. Because of that, I can't remember what the psychological term for it is, but there is a term for it, isn't there, about that familiarity. So I think I've seen 5 or 6 trainers this week offering training courses to help photographers move their photography up to the next level, whatever the hell that means.
Yeah, it's always the next level.
One of those stupid phrases that means nothing.
Yeah. So Andrew, people listening are probably going to be people that think that they need a personal branding shoot potentially, or that they'll need photos. So, are you saying that, well, what are you saying to them? What should they be asking for? If they need a set of photos and, these sort of lists of quite tacky things that they could be doing with their coffee and their wine and stuff, what do you think people should be asking for that's going to get them something that's a bit more genuine, a bit more authentic, a bit more them, tells their story?
I think the really important thing is to go back to your business strategy. What are your business goals? What's your business about? What you do, what you deliver, what's in it for your customers? Because at the end of the day, I'm not the hero of my business. My customers are the heroes of my business. I'm there just to facilitate what they want to do. And on that goes. So it goes back to the core. What am I trying to do? Who am I trying to help? What do they need to see? What's important to my customers about what I do? Now, if you are a Reiki healer or you do physio or something like that, testimonials from clients, video testimonials from clients are really, really useful. Written testimonials from clients are really, really useful. Photographs showing your premises where it looks clean, safe, hygienic, etc. And some photos of you doing what it is that you do all add to the story. But I think you've got to go back to what's the marketing message that I want to go out there. Because if you go to somebody to have a personal brand shoot done, if they don't understand what your business is all about in terms of your marketing, how are those photos going to have any value? Because they've got to communicate a message. Every time the photos have got to tell the story. But I think with this stuff, it's telling something, but I'm not sure what the story is. To be blunt, having seen this is ideal for high-end dating. If you want to snare a billionaire, these are the sort of lifestyle shots you want.
Well, there's a top tip. I'll go and sign up now.
That may be a controversial thing to say, but when you look at a person's personal branding photographs on their website and you see photographs of them sat on a beach in Mexico in a bikini, what is their business all about? I know there's a lot of things going on where, people who train coaches do what I do and get what I've got. You
There's
can
a
have the
lot of
lifestyle
that.
I've got. There's a hell of a lot of that, but it's not actually delivering anything of any substance. It's like a get-rich-quick scheme almost. Join the business, do this, you can get loads and loads of clients, you can get this, you can only work part-time, you can earn a gazillion dollars a year, etc. So what is it you actually do? And you can never get to the bottom of what people actually do. And photographically, this is the message here, is you can't actually get to the bottom of what the people actually do. And I find that annoying, because photography is there to tell stories and show what's going on. It's a perfect show and tell opportunity, but it isn't actually telling anything. And when you get mini personal brand shoots where the photographer and possibly a stylist, possibly a makeup artist, will book a fantastic house for a day or a business location for a day where people can come along and have their personal brand photos done, they're all in the same location with the same lighting, with the same setups. Where's the uniqueness? They're not unique. Okay, it's harder and harder and harder in marketing to be unique because there are so many things that have been done before, and as time goes on, it becomes more difficult to reinvent the wheel. But you're starting from a platform of actually not reinventing the wheel. They need to be different, and by its very nature, that is not different.
So do you think we're at the point now then where these cliched on the beach with the wine glass, with the coffee cup and the laptop, and do you think we're now at the point where that's just so cliche that actually it's detrimental to someone's brand?
I think it is, because there's no substance. There's no substance, there's no USP. I can't see what it delivers, and I've been in marketing for long enough. If you can't see what's there, what is there? I do a lot of headshots. Headshots are great because they are what they are. It's a headshot of a person. You can see who that person is. You get an idea of what sort of person they are and what they look like. And hopefully, if you go to an event and you see that person, you will recognize them from the headshot. That thing where you go and you meet somebody and you're looking around the hotel reception or the coffee shop, around the coffee shop, trying to find the person, and you find that actually they look about 15 years older than they did in the photograph because they didn't want an update because they'd look too old. And that's, again, that's not representing you properly. I think headshots should be of a high quality, but they should be honest.
And how often do you think people should be getting updated headshots and pictures more generally?
I think it depends on a number of things, but assuming that you don't change your hairstyle, probably every couple of years. Mm-hmm. But, if you go from long blonde hair to short red hair, you need a new headshot. If you grow a beard as a fella and you've got headshots with beards in and then you shave your beard off, you need new headshots now because it needs to represent you as you are.
Yeah.
It's partly identification, but it's also partly positioning. People need to get an idea that you are the sort of person that they can talk to and that they can open themselves up to. And you can do that in a couple of headshots. You don't need a brand portfolio of 72 photographs, of which several of you are holding coffee and wine glasses and sitting on the floor in your pajamas on your laptop. It's just unnecessary. That's unnecessary.
It is. So say I was wanting to get a whole new range of photos, and I'll know that I probably need some headshots, and I want photos that are going to represent me in my business, and I'm working with a new photographer. What kinds of things should I be asking them or telling them about my business that's going to get the best shots?
Well, I think the first thing is that they've got to know what your business is all about. And I think you will have seen things that you think, yeah, that's the style of picture I want. I don't want them to copy it, but that's the style of picture I want. So a lot of people call them mood boards, but basically just grab a load of pictures that inspire you, and equally important, a load of things that you think are really, really terrible. Because if the photographer thinks, oh, I'll do this, and it happens to be something you think is terrible, and you've not actually said, look, I saw this and it was really awful. I don't want that kind of thing. Great. It makes a better brief.
Yeah.
But I think the photographer's got to know what your business is all about. So, for instance, if I was going to work with you, one of the things I'd want to do is come and photograph you recording a podcast. Mm-hmm. From your end of the line, show what you do, what goes on in the background, photographs of you speaking at an event, maybe some photographs of you doing some prep. Now, that gets us into that really boring area of person sat at a computer with a cup of coffee typing. But if there's only one photograph or two photographs of that,
and I
that
haven't
is
got my
relevant,
wine.
no wine, no, absolutely no wine. I think if there's one or two photographs of that within the story, that's fine. But you don't want a shed load of photographs of stuff that you post every week on social that shows basically you're just getting out there and having a good time. You know, you're working. So maybe the work that you do with your VA, you get the two of you together for that particular activity, two of you meeting, setting up, organising things. It shows that there's more than just one person. I think you've got to, as a photographer, particularly if you're shooting any marketing content, you've got to really understand what that client's business is about and what story they're trying to tell and who their audience is. You know, who is going to buy their goods or services and what's that person going to want to see.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. Good advice. A few things for me to think about. I'm sure the listeners too. On a practical note, can you give us any advice around lighting and what is the best lighting for photos that are going to be used in this way? Is there a difference between natural lighting and artificial lighting? Does it matter?
Yeah, it's huge. It's absolutely vast. The best light, in my opinion, is natural light that comes in at you from the front, from the north, or on a cloudy day.
Oh, that's very specific.
It is. If you go to most artists' studios, you'll find they have big windows that face north.
Ah,
because the sun doesn't come and get in the way. You don't get that very harsh, what we call point light, with a cloudy day or the light from the north that you get from the sun on a sunny day. And at this time of the year and later, where the sun's quite low in the sky, that light is quite sharp and intense and the shadows are massive. And if you're being lit by that, the shadows are massive, the bags under the eyes are huge. Those lines that you don't want to show are much more enhanced, and you squint.
Not a great combination.
No, it's not a great look, is it? It's not a great look. So if you haven't got the opportunity to use really good natural light, which I did yesterday because it was overcast, we're facing north. So the clouds work like a giant softbox. So if you go into a photographic studio, you'll often see the studio lights in these huge boxes with white diffusers on the front. They're called softboxes. And the bigger the softbox, the softer the light, because it spreads more evenly, so the kinder it is. So if somebody's idea of high quality lighting is to stick a flash gun on the top of their camera, give them a wide berth. Because it creates really nasty shadows in all the wrong places. And it's just cheap. It's cheap and it's lazy. Good lighting is expensive. It needs to put it in the right place. You need to learn how to use it. It takes a long time to learn how to use it.
A lot of skill in that,
but it's a huge amount. And, you know, I've lit people before now and they look like the sort of person that you'd happily do confession with on a Saturday afternoon down at St. Teresa's. But if you put the light in a different place, they look like an enforcer for the Cray Twins.
Oh, isn't that funny?
Just by changing the light, because you change the mood and you change the atmosphere. So when I photograph people, one of the things I want to know is, how are we going to use the light to create the look that you want? I don't want you to tell me how to use the light. I want to know what the look is that we're going to create, and then I'll work out how to light you to make that look effective. But the simplest way to do it is to use north light, have some shade above you. So doorways are good because you've got shade from above. The light's coming from the front. That helps fill in the shadows. And if you need a little bit of extra, there is nothing better than a large piece of white card as a reflector, A1 size piece of white card. I use them. I have reflectors that cost tens and tens of pounds and some that cost more than that. But I also use white polyboard from Hobbycraft because it's nice and easy.
That's good tip.
And it's soft, it's gentle.
Well, that's what we
like.
like.
We all want
that's
kind light, particularly when we get to a certain age.
100%. And on that theme, have you got any advice around what people should wear to sort of look their best in these pictures? Is there any advice around good colours or styles that work well?
I think busy patterns are a bad idea because there's a thing called screen clash or moire patterns. And basically what happens is that the weave of the fat in the fabric or the pattern on the fabric clashes with the screen on the computer or on the phone. And all those tiny, tiny, tiny dots can create really, really strange patterns. Prince of Wales checked suits are a nightmare.
Right.
Yeah. I'm not telling the king, but somebody else can. And other things can be as well. I think putting that on one side, really busy patterns are best avoided. I think the other thing that is best avoided are big brand logos. Those photographs of you in the Von Dutch t-shirt really do date you.
Gosh, I remember those.
Yeah, right. Well, it's all right, if it's a brand that's like always there.
Yes.
Great. But do you want to be associated in your brand photos with a particular brand?
It's a distraction, isn't it?
I think it is, yeah. Now, if you want to show off the fact that you can help them make so much money that they can afford a £5,000 handbag, fine, get a £5,000 handbag in the shop. Make sure it's recognisable and everybody can see who it is. Make sure it doesn't look like a knockoff. Don't use a knockoff. In terms of clothing, I think wear the sort of thing that you would wear if you were going to meet a client. If you were going to make a presentation or you're going to do a one-to-one with a client, that's the kind of thing you should wear in the photos because that's the first impression. My favourite personal brand shoot story, or one of them, who rang me the day before the shoot and said she'd have to postpone because she'd arranged to borrow her mate's Range Rover, but it broke down and it was in the garage and she really wanted the Range Rover to feature in the thing. I said, have you got a Range Rover? She says, no, I've got a sort of Renault Clio, but I thought the Range Rover would look better.
Oh. Did you bite your tongue or did you...
I said, no, don't worry about it. We can rearrange whenever you want. And it never went any further, thank God. But no, it was absolute classic.
That's hilarious.
And it was really funny because I know whose Range Rover it was and I know how old it was, and it was getting on for 20 years old. So, it was just crap. But to me, it summed up this whole do what I do, get what I've got.
You see a lot of the cars, don't you, in those photos?
It's such nonsense. I was going to use another word there, but yeah, it's such nonsense, such rubbish.
I find it really actually just not for our times as well, because there's so much, isn't there, around big cars and the environment and all this sort of stuff. And I do find it a little bit uncomfortable when I see people sort of stood next to the massive Range Rovers or whatever. And it's just, I think they're dated, I would say.
Bling bling's gone, I think. It has for me. Not that it ever arrived for me. I'm never really that into bling bling.
I just think it's a bit naff. And exactly the example you gave, there's so much that you see on particularly platforms like Instagram where you've got these get-rich-quick guys who are posing next to the orange Lamborghinis or whatever, and people know that they've either rented them or they're not theirs. So it's that whole classic example that you just gave. And so it's kind of lost any credibility anyway, I think.
That's right. I think, people get suckered into those kind of things, unfortunately. And I think a lot of personal brand photography is akin to that. And I think part of the problem is that the people who are doing the training are selling a dream of how to earn a living as a brand photographer, not actually teaching people how to create meaningful marketing content with some depth to it.
It's a pyramid scheme.
It's akin to that, yeah. It has that kind of feel. I trained, 16 years ago, to be a portrait photographer. And a lot of the stuff that we were taught was really, really good and I used every day, but there's certain bits that you sort of take with a pinch of salt and put on one side. And I've done work with other photography trainers where I've cancelled my subscription halfway through the course and they said, well, if you don't pay, we'll take you to court. I said, you take me to court, we'll enjoy exposing what a bloody nonsense this is.
Absolutely. And on that note, I think that brings us to an end of our time. But thank you so much for sharing your views on personal branding photography, but also giving some hints there around what to look out for and what to be wary of, but also some helpful practical stuff there around the lighting and the clothing and stuff, because I think that's really useful advice for people listening. So thank you.
I think there's one parting thing I would say is if you are putting together new marketing collateral, new website, social media content, etc., go back to your business objectives. What is my business about? Who am I aiming at? What am I offering to them? What would they expect to see to tell the story of my business?
Seems really straightforward when you say it like that.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah.
Thank you, Andrew. If anyone listening wants to connect with you, where's the best place for them to find you?
LinkedIn.
Cool. We'll pop a link to your profile in the show notes to make it easy for people.
Yeah, no problem at all. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for listening. If you're serious about growing your profile, take our free profile assessment quiz to see where you're at right now and get hints and tips on how to improve your score. You'll find the link to the quiz in the show notes. If you've enjoyed the episode, it would be mint if you'd subscribe, like, and leave a review. See you next Monday.